Five, four, three.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. How are you, sir?
Well, usually. Sorry, I've missed the last couple of weeks.
Usually with me.
I had to be back for this film because it's one of my favorite con films of all time. I love this movie so much. But I'm doing good. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie, you watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you. We spin it on around on the old spinner rack. So, catch me. Wait. We're in the middle of Thanksgiving. And in Thanksgiving, we celebrate the career, the life of Mr. Tom Hanks, because he has a very unique career, to say the least. He sort of kind of started in the same role as DiCaprio, where it's the baby-faced man that went to a certain point, and then it kind of flipped over when he started to do more of like serious stuff. So I found it very interesting. So the movie we're talking about today is Catch Me If You Can, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, of course, and directed by Steven Spielberg. Please, Oh My Feelings, share with us your first movie experience, because you shared it with me. I just want you to share it with everybody.
It was kind of a very unique experience. My mother loves films that have anything to do with con artists and heists and stuff, and so she saw that DiCaprio was going to be in this, and she liked DiCaprio since she actually saw him in Gangs of New York, because he was tied to the picture at the time, and so we decided to go see the movie. And my mom absolutely adored it. Loved it so much, she went out and bought the book the next day.
The actual book by Frank Abagnale Jr.
Yes, Abagnale, yes.
Yeah.
Frank W. Abagnale, yes.
Whatever. All right.
Yeah.
I actually have not seen this in the theater for a very particular reason. I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio. I've
Yeah.
said this many times on the show. I've said that many times backstage. I don't particularly like Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't find him appealing. I don't like his acting. However, there are a few exceptions or a few movies that I like. Put aside my, my indifference towards Mr. DiCaprio and watch it. One of them is Catch Me If You Can, because I watched it on cable, sort of like I started from not from the start, sort of like in from the middle, and then I took the time and went out, sought after it, and watched the whole thing, and I kind of like it. But let's say hello to the chat. We'll say hello to our modern chief, Paul Harley, Feckless Finn. I think is
Well,
it
hi, Finn. It's
Aussie?
been a while.
Aussie,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So very, very early morning. Farquad Heidelberg. That's a new name. Maybe an older person, but a new name. And Juliet, welcome, welcome, welcome. All of you and the lurkers out there in the old different platforms. Farquad Heidelberg. Yeah. All right, correct. Well, we'll do what we do every time. We'll dive in deeper into the movie with a little segment we like to call Behind the
Sound
Screens.
production, take 2.
Behind the Screens is where we usually turn to All My Feelings and get the lowdown on behind the scenes production stuff. But this week, it's gonna be May.
Yes.
All right. So buckle up, buckaroos, because this is a joyride and a half to research. One thing I didn't mention in my intro is the fact that in some movies I watch or some movies we cover, it's sort of okay, I've seen this movie before, and I would be happy to watch it again or not happy to watch it again. But when we dive into the research of this thing, I kind of like it a little bit more for various reasons. And let us begin. The movie
for
itself.
1 second, Farquaad, as you're watching it in your mirror, keep your hands in appropriate places, okay?
Yeah. Unless you're watching Deadpool and Wolverine, in that case,
Well,
it's a free for all. All right. The movie itself, Catch Me If You Can, is based on the autobiography of Frank W. Abagnale Jr. Thank you, All My Feelings.
Yeah.
I sort of didn't know that, but whatever. And the autobiography rights were already sold back in 1980, as the Salty Nerd podcast have rated us. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy another Thanksgiving movie with Catch Me If You Can. We'll continue. The rights were sold to Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin, of all people. But a couple of years later, it was sold to Columbia Pictures, which in turn sold it to Hal Bartlett, a producer who died even before the project went off the ground. He was in search for, I think it was a studio to pick it up or a publisher, whatever. So from Hal Bartlett, the rights were sold to Hollywood Pictures. It's a subsidiary of Disney,
which is now defunct, I do believe.
Which is now defunct, correct. Which in turn, yet again, sold to Bungalow 78, which is a division of TriStar Pictures.
Which is also now defunct.
Which is also now defunct. The journey has not stopped, because then it was sold through mediaries and another producer and all that stuff to Paramount Pictures. And then when Paramount Pictures couldn't get the project off the ground, it was sold for the very final time in 1997 to DreamWorks, which is Steven Spielberg, well, one of them.
That was pretty much that was Spielberg's baby, though.
It kind of yes and no. He wanted to get the picture done, but he wasn't.
No, I meant DreamWorks as a studio.
Oh yeah. Who owns it now? Warner Brothers? Tom must know. It's not under. I don't think it's under Spielberg management at the moment.
I think it might be.
I think it got sold.
Universal or
maybe Universal as their animated division, because DreamWorks had the animated division and they had the real real life division, or the not animated division,
live action.
Live action. Thank you, because there's no words coming out of my mouth. All right. So in 2000, David Fincher was attached to the project, but because of
to be honest, the screamed the opening trailer, the opening, the title theme title series that we talked about before backstage would be completely different if you imagine this being a Fincher film. Because imagine like Fight Club and Seven, like that's a little bit of a twist there.
Let's just say it's a pretty bold move, Cotton.
Yes.
And everybody's.
Let's see if it pays off.
Everybody's sending me messages right now. Great. Where was I? So he, because of delays and all that stuff, he decided to drop out of the project and actually make Panic Room with Jodie Foster and Forrest Whitaker, which I didn't particularly like.
It's a terrible film. Terrible movie. And also a very, very young little zombie girl.
Yeah, well, I don't want to swear in the first 10 minutes of the show. So when he left, Gore Verbinski, from, I know him best as Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, right?
Yep. Yeah,
right. It's the first one. That's the first one I remember he did.
He
probably
very, very biggest hit, blockbuster wise.
Yeah. He picked up the mantle. He was the one that was he cast Leonardo DiCaprio. It's sort of unconfirmed, because it's either DiCaprio was attached and he came on board, or was the other way around. I couldn't find a definitive answer, so take that with a grain of salt. However, he did cast James Gandolfini as Carl Henrietta and Ed Harris as Frank Abagnale Sr. And he also cast Chloe Sevigny as Brenda Strong, the Amy Adams character.
There's two miscasts right there. Gandolfini wouldn't have worked. No.
No.
That and Chloe Sevigny, not in that role.
Not in that role. No. She wasn't girlish enough. She wasn't young looking enough.
She didn't seem innocent enough. Because Amy Adams, especially that stage in her career, because especially when she's in her nurse's pinstripes, she looks like she's about 16 years old. She looks like a teenager.
Yeah, like DiCaprio.
Yeah.
So Verbinski started to work on a project, and there was a problem. They had to delay a bit of the shoot in order for DiCaprio to actually finish Gangs of New York, at least his shooting sort of commitments. And he ended up dropping out of the project, out of Catch Me If You Can. So DreamWorks actually started to look for a new director, because Steven Spielberg had two projects that he wanted to work on that were in the way. The first one was Lasse Hallström, but he dropped out, and because they couldn't negotiate a good contract for him. And when Hallström dropped out, both Ed Harris and Chloe Sevigny also dropped out because they couldn't wait. They wanted to move on to other projects. Yeah. Then Spielberg offered both Milos Forman and Cameron Crowe the role, and both fell out in the negotiation phase because of probably not money, but artistic view. Probably can't confirm it.
I will have to say, given the overall trend, Steven Spielberg was the right pick. Just of his we all know Spielberg's essential admiration for the more innocent take on things, and with the way things are shot, the way things are produced, especially like the soundtrack, little sound stings, the way that like it makes it feel like almost, even though this is a child committing mass fraud, you root for him the entire time. You root for Abagnale Jr. the entire film.
Yeah. One point of contention here. Sandra Hammerschlag said AI and Minority Report. No, those came before Catch Me If You Can.
Yep.
I was talking about future projects, and this is exactly my next note. My next note is, because the negotiations kind of fell through, Spielberg said, well, screw everything. I'll take the reins. I'll just postpone my next two projects, which were Big Fish and Geisha, the one with the Memoirs of a Geisha.
Which he shouldn't have made either of those films. They're both awful.
Big Fish is pretty good. Once he took over,
we can disagree on that.
Once he took over, now this is a problem, because I looked at two different sources, and two different sources said two different things. One said James Gandolfini had to drop out because The Sopranos next season was coming up and he couldn't commit to the role. And the other is Steven Spielberg actually wanted Tom Hanks in the role and not James Gandolfini. So I don't know which one is correct. They're both reputable sites. So
it could actually probably be a little bit of both, to be honest, because this is when Sopranos was actually starting to pick up in popularity as well. And I'm assuming that would make his schedule way more hectic, especially because with HBO, the way they do run and gun shooting, I would not be surprised that he would have to be on set like 14 weeks out of the year, then take like a 2-month break and then be back on set. So, yeah.
To be absolutely fair, it really doesn't matter what reason it was. The fact of the matter is he dropped out or got dropped out or replaced, whatever it is. Tom Hanks stepped into the line, where the thing is, this is the fourth project that Steven Spielberg has done with Tom Hanks, including Band of Brothers, which they were both on sort of like that producer, showrunner kind of a role.
Yeah.
So they kind of directed that whole artistic side of things rather than the money side of the producing. But yeah. Where was I? Right. And also because Harris dropped out and Savinier dropped out, he brought in Christopher Walken, which we can talk about because I know your opinion about that, and Amy Adams. Another couple of casting roles were, I call them bring your friend to work kind of a casting roles.
A little bit.
One was Natalie Bay, where Spielberg wanted an actual French actress to fill in the role of the French mother that,
for Paula,
that Frank Sr. went into the war and got from the war. So he got Natalie Bay, but what's the friend angle is Brian De Palma, Spielberg's friend. He was living in Paris at the time, and he actually recommended Natalie Bay to Spielberg. Same with Jennifer Gardner. Jennifer Gardner was doing Alias at the time. Steven Spielberg's protege, J.J. Abrams was in charge of that show. And it's not necessarily that J.J. Abrams said, well, take Jennifer Gardner. Spielberg actually watched the show and was impressed, and he wanted to give her sort of a cameo role, so she'll do that transition from a hit show into a hit movie.
Yeah.
And I think
that hit film was Elektra. No.
That film was Daredevil.
Well, in Elektra, she was at least the lead.
Yeah.
Both films were awful, but she was at least the lead in Elektra.
Which also I'll bring in Deadpool and Wolverine, not because of her. Sorry about the spoilers. Not because of a cameo. It's because Deadpool is Daredevil is dead, and he says, "I'm sorry, it's fine."
Yep. It's
It's
fine.
a little tiny bit.
It's
It
fine.
made me laugh so much in the theater and twice more at home. All right.
Yeah, we'll get to Elizabeth Banks later, and there were also several other very like notable actresses that got their start here and got pushed later.
All right. So there are a few inconsistencies between the book itself and the movie, like you would expect of any book adaptation. First of all, after running away for the very first time, Frank Jr. said that he never saw his dad again. They never had that lunch conversation where he said, "I bought you a car, a coupe."
The Cadillac, and then also they
Never
never
happened.
had the bar scene where he comes in and gives him the engagement invitation. That never happened.
Exactly, that never happened. Carl Henrietti's name. He's not the real FBI agent. There is no FBI agent. Well, it could be that there is such a guy, but not that particular guy.
Yeah.
The real guy's name is Joseph Shea or Shea, or it's Shea, I think. He's Irish. He specifically said to Frank Abagnale Jr. that he does not want his name printed anywhere.
Yep.
So it was changed in the book and then got into the script.
The only nod to him is actually the Kelly song.
Could be. I don't know.
No. The strong sing. That's the connection there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Irish. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, Frank was arrested as a juvenile several times and was in institutions several times before he actually started to do his fraudulent checks. He was there for other reasons, not specified. One of them is he was in the Navy for 6 weeks and left or got ejected and then spent some time in some sort of a correctional facility. And this is the most important one, I think, or two most important things that I found hilarious. Journalists in 1978 debunked the story about passing the bar in Louisiana. Apparently, there were nobody I think in the book it's a different name. It's not Frank Connors, it's something else.
Yeah, it is. I'll give these screenwriters credit in the fact they simplified the story in a massive amount of ways.
Okay. But according to journalists who tracked down the stuff, there is nobody of the name he said that actually passed the bar.
Correct. Yeah. It didn't happen.
it didn't happen. And another journalist, Ira Perry is his name, said that he did not find any evidence that Frank actually worked with the FBI. And furthermore, he discovered that in 1978, same year, Frank was actually trying to pass a fraudulent check, but was stopped.
Yep.
Not incarcerated, though. Wasn't taken to custody, wasn't arrested. It was stopped sort of beforehand. So there's something fishy about Frank's account after he left the jail.
There's a lot of stuff that's very fishy about his history. There is one bit that actually is true, that he did actually work with several Fortune 500 companies and revolving on how they actually do their payroll services and how their check actually work. That is true. That did actually do, and he ended up making millions off of that. So that actually is true. That bit of the epilogue is true. Yeah. Other than like pretty much a good 90% of this story is that, like, I love it so much because if you know the backstory, it's like we're dealing with literally the most unreliable narrator.
Oh yeah.
And the unreliable narrator this time is not our character. No, it's the film itself.
Yeah. And the unfunny part of it is Frank Abagnale Jr. did not help to consult on the movie ever.
Nope.
He wasn't even invited, and he didn't even want to help them at all. He's like, I sold the rights. You're free to do whatever you want. And the only comment he did was after he saw the movie, he was the one that gave the information that he's never, like, the movie was wrong. Like, I've never seen my dad after I like ran away from home. Yeah. The movie was adapted into a musical in 2011. It was actually nominated for a couple of Tonys, one for acting and one for the entire musical. The budget for the movie was $52 million, and it brought in the bacon, $350 million box office worldwide for this movie. A very successful movie for DreamWorks, very successful movie for both DiCaprio, Hanks, and another one for Steven Spielberg's belt, I guess.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I didn't know it was that successful. I knew it was successful. I didn't know it was that successful.
No, I got the big bump because of the revitalization of Hank's career and Leonardo DiCaprio's career, and Steven Spielberg had just released Minority Report was only what?
Minority Report, yeah, but it was what, 2000?
2000, but this was like the new Steven Spielberg film. Everyone's gonna go see a Steven Spielberg film then.
Yeah.
So,
no, actually, Minority Report says 2002.
So it should be right before this, then, right?
Yeah, two movies at the same. Wait a minute. Yeah, they're both 2002. Release date. That's what's crazy about like spending time not spending time, but living in a different country is I get the release date here.
Yeah, you get different release dates. Yeah.
I'll give you the exact one. It is December. Ooh, it's a Christmas movie. December 25th, 2002. So Minority Report came out as a summer blockbuster, and then this movie came out as a, an Oscar bait kind of a movie, I guess. Or a Christmas movie.
Well, no, Christmas, that's the big misnomer is typically like January is dead season. Christmas, you get a Christmas release or a Thanksgiving release, they're pushing you to the moon.
All right.
They're banking on you to make money because that's when people go see movies. Or, well, they used to before COVID happened, but...
and other things that happened. Yeah. What the fuck was that? What was what? I don't know what you're talking about, Sander. All right, cool. So let us talk about the beginning. You want to do do you want to do the game first, or you want to do the movie first? You want to do the opening first, right?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to briefly just discuss about like how much I adore the title sequence.
Okay,
and
cool. Go ahead.
We talked a little bit about backstage. The score of the film was fantastic.
Yes. Score was made by John Williams. John Williams was nominated for an Oscar for the movie. I don't know. I didn't check who won, but he didn't win. Otherwise, he would have said nominated and won an Oscar. Yeah. To me, the whole start, first of all, you mentioned it backstage. It's like a 4 minute
opening credits. And then when we have the cut to the game show bit, it's another like 2.5-3 minutes.
Yeah. So that's quite a lot, but it's very much of 60s style, 60s style opening, right? Where you have
very art deco,
vertical line, art deco kind of a style, which it just sets the mood and it puts you in that time frame or that era without actually spelling it out for you. Oh, well, remember, we're in the 60s.
Well, and also the fact that it's mid to late 60s, because the John Williams score with the post modern jazz, where it's very more upbeat and tight on especially on like it's a jazz drum work, but it's very like it's reminiscent of that time specifically, and it gets you immediately in that mood.
All right, cool. All right, let's do our first game of the night. Well, before we actually start doing the movie, because it's a long movie, and guys, we're gonna skip
we're gonna have to skip a bunch of stuff because it's a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. Let me just set this up. All right, cool. Our first game of the night, you know it, you love it. It is Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. You guys out there, and Mr. Oh, my feelings here, will have to guess which one this is. The chat is on ultra maximum mini lag, so give them a chance.
I'll put myself on lag.
Right, guys? What is this movie? One of the
you know it.
represented in this movie has gone on a tirade this week, or all the last 7 days, because I'm pissed. Here we go. We've got it. It is All the President's Men. All the President's Men. Now, this one is tough. The title is tough.
God damn you sometimes, man.
I can't mix all the pop culture stuff in one bag and give it to you, and you can finish it in 13 seconds.
No, you know I love you, but I hate this movie.
I've seen it once. Once was enough. Like, I think it's Kate Beckinsale, and it's like, please be a vampire. And I don't even like the underworld movies.
Go back to Underworld. Go find some more werewolves, please.
See, I this is why I love the chat. It's like, I don't know it, but I know I hate it. Bad Gamergate. That's close. Where are you? A Valley of the Clouds? Not really. It is A Walk in the Clouds. It's all about stepping on grapes and
okay.
making wine.
You know what? I'm going with Sanders' tag on that one. It's now called Upper World.
So, who's got it? Paul's got it. Here we go. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Another Spielberg classic.
Yep.
Do you want to hear the most annoying sound of the world? You want me to do it? I can do it. I didn't say you could do it. Yes, it is. This is Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, we love.
I told you, I don't have to put all the pop culture stuff.
I know, but we love our little buddy.
Yeah,
and it's getting that time of year too.
Yeah, buddy. Griffin's got it. It is Gremlins. Juliet's got it. Sanders got it. Everybody's got it. This is Gremlins.
How could you not know this? Bangarang. Come on.
Rufy. Oh! Paul's got it. It is Hook. To be honest, Hook has got some great freaking posters.
Yeah.
Most of them are Hook based.
This movie's awful, but just look at his head and you know it.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is a DreamWorks.
It is.
Right?
Yes, it is. And Sanders got it, and Farquaad and Paul's got it.
Like everybody's got it.
It's Megamind.
It is Megamind. This one's a little bit tougher. It is a Nicolas Cage and Cher collaboration. And shocker, spoilers, he is crazy in this one too.
Yeah, this is what he was on, a tirade of being absolutely crazy.
Moonstruck. It is. This one's a little bit more difficult.
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
This is I destroyed my faced guy and I destroyed my career woman. Ha 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 ha. Oh, Bad Gamergate has got it. 9.5 weeks. Yowza.
I wish it was
Correct.
Barfly because, oh my God, I love Barfly so much. That's a movie we have to cover at some point in time. I love that fucking movie.
Oh, I've got a surprise for you when we finish the show.
Oh, yay. This is a very bad video game and also a very bad movie.
You shut your goddamn mouth. This is one of the best video games ever.
It's
Paul's got it. It is Rampage. This movie is fucking awful. Holy shit.
It's so bad.
I can't believe, you know, there are certain times in your life when you're like, why the fuck did I just watch this movie from start to finish? I was like, I don't want to see this movie. Why am I still watching this? This is one of those movies. Never saw it in theater, saw it only when it came up on cable.
Same thing. Another release that came out randomly on a streaming service, Battleship. Why the fuck am I watching this movie right now?
Yeah, same. To me, I felt the same about what's it called? Pacific Rim, or what I like to call the Rim world. But
Pacific Rim was it was
I know
it was
people
all
love that because you like Gundams. That's why.
No, actually, I don't. Actually, no, actually,
you don't.
Mechas are actually my most hated version of any kind of anime. I do not like them at all. I do not like mechas at all.
I would definitely put you as an Evangelion kind of guy. Holy
Evangelion
shit!
Was,
okay,
it was all right. Because the story actually was better.
The weebs in the chat will kill you.
Yeah,
will eat you alive. Never mind. We love you. All right. So movie starts with sort of a, that TV show kind of a thing. To be perfectly honest, I could have done without that bit. It didn't really sit with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, the only thing why again, Spielberg has this whole whimsical nostalgia effect that he has on all of his films where he has to throw in something that would be just of that era. So he had to just throw this in because honestly, no one else besides him, probably on set even, would remember that was actually a TV show.
Yeah, and from that, it actually goes straight into sort of establishing Frank's relationships and upbringing. Sort of like this. I'm showing you the stuff that puts you on that path, or kind of pushed you to who you are, and that is the setup of the family. So the first thing we get to see is sort of like his dad getting an award. It's a business award. He's also like working with within his community. He's working with kind of a union.
I would say, well, the Rotary Club is a little bit different than a union, but anyway, no. The most important thing about that is especially just given the fact that it completely diverts from the actual story of Frank Abagnale Jr., is the fact that like it's clearly showing Frank Jr.'s adoration for his father, like how much pride he has for his dad, even though his dad is a fuck up with whatever he did with the IRS. I do love the fact that the film never actually went through the entire bit of what his dad did to piss off the IRS so bad.
Yeah, because it's technically it's immaterial. The whole point of the IRS bit is to have some sort of an external pressure on this whole family, because you've got the IRS coming in. That's from sort of like his dad's side, and from his mom's side, she's a foxy little minx, because there's a point where Frank comes back home and
I did not like this at all, because I'm like, oh, Paula, I'm really trying to like you, but so you're fucking your husband's friend. Cool. All right.
The guy who just gave him that award as well. It's like, oh, you're from that fucking union club kind of a thing. It's like,
We'll say-
oh shit.
In between that, we do have the small bit where we do have Frank going to his new high school where he pretends to be the French teacher for a week.
Yes.
Which was actually is in the book that he supposedly did do that.
Yeah, but it's sort of unconfirmed. They couldn't find the
They
school
couldn't find
that
any
he did it
confirmation.
in.
Yeah, there was no confirmation of it.
There's nothing on his school record. Plus, he left. I think he didn't finish high school as well, just like in the movie. So
He left. Wife swapping? No, wasn't a thing. No, she was just having an affair.
No, she was having an affair, and the whole point is the fun bit of the movie. Fun bit of it story wise is Frank comes home and he finds her with this man. He knows she's having an affair, although she's acting like it's
it's
nothing.
like, oh no, well that's right.
You
don't have to tell your father anything because there was nothing going on, right? And then as she goes to light a cigarette, she snaps it from her and says, well, you said you were going to quit, and slams the door. Because like your son's not an idiot. He knows you're fucking somebody else. So I mean,
and the whole point is the fact that later on he comes back home, and then there's another strange man coming out of the bedroom, and it's it's not the IRS guy. It's sort of their lawyer who's helping them with the IRS stuff, or he is the IRS guy.
It's the guy who's literally like, it's their divorce lawyers, because they're writing down, like they're trying to sign up like who's going to have parental rights for him.
Yeah, sort of like
custody rights anyway.
It's sort of it's not what you think, because he says like, don't touch my mom, don't. That's the whole setup, because he was coming back home and is sort of like, there's another strange man in my mom's bed or my parents' bedroom, and he's thinking one thing, but it's sort of like subverts your expectation kind of a thing, which is a fun little way to do it. Not the best, but yeah. And one of the things that happened in the school, once Frank gets caught, he has that interaction, and this is like sort of like that first little inkling that Frank is not only is able to have that, we'll call it that con artist facade of, he really believes he's that teacher, so he acts like the teacher, and everybody else, because they don't know any better, they treat him like the teacher, right? And that is that con artist way of weaseling into things, because
doesn't it lead into kind of the ideology that he reiterates back to his father, which obviously wasn't real, but that's written in the script anyway, and it's performed by DiCaprio, where he says, well, an honest man never needs to fear, because he's
not lying.
Yeah.
And it does, and a good con artist,
and in so many ways too, it kind of reminds me, of George from Seinfeld. Because when he starts with like, hey, it's not a lie if you believe it. True.
Yeah, exactly. And it is exactly like that. And like I said, another little inkling is that he tells her how to fold the paper, because if it's not folded, it doesn't seem real, because a real person would have folded it and put it in his pocket and then flashed it when they come to show it to whatever, the secretary or whatever.
And I'm assuming that was supposed to be the girl that he was supposed to take to the junior prom. That never. Well, the little side bit there, because that's when he goes home later and says, but like getting his driver's license in the mail, and then he finds his mom with that. But talking about how he was going to take this girl to the junior prom and stuff. But
yeah, but he kind of fibbed. It's sort of the stuff that you as a viewer, like, yeah, you're lying. There's no way that there's no other interaction that we see. So we're on that sidelines where we're thinking, well, or maybe that's just the second viewing for me. Or
he did actually mention to a letter to his father later, but like, oh, please tell her that I'm sorry I couldn't take her to prom.
Yeah, and that point where they have that lawyer and he realizes his family's falling apart. This is where he just runs. Yeah, he turns out and just literally runs. and he goes out to this hotel. And this is after his dad gave him like 50 checks. There's a moment where his dad sits him down and is like, I opened an account for you. I made sure you had some checks. They're on your name, like in your name.
Well, and he also showed him his first kind of contracts about how he got the girl to open up the suit store with the necklace bit, and then also like
Yes.
out going to the bank. How, well, given the fact that I clearly have a driver, now we have the owner of the bank actually opening the doors for me. So
Yeah, that whole bit where like you can see where sort of like Spielberg puts it, where you can see how Frank Jr. learns the bad habits from Frank Sr., but obviously Frank Sr. is a complete fuck up. So he doesn't do well with his cons, or
Yeah.
not really cons, but sort of like Frank Sr. is more of a facade kind of a guy, and
Yeah.
Frank Jr. is the actual con artist.
Yeah, he's the genuine article of being
Yeah.
a fake person.
Yeah.
which though is so odd, because you would think that if the father would have actually been successful, then none of this actually would have happened.
I think so.
So
And one of the things that kind of happened at the first steps that Frank does is he actually, from his failures, he understands how things are supposed to work.
Yeah.
And then he tries it and tries it and tries it. And every time he tries it, he keeps failing at the start, because nobody would take those checks from one bank and deposit it in a different bank if they don't know the
major
guy.
reason why is because he doesn't have the air about him. And when he sees the pilot walking down the street and everyone giving him adoration, and actually like little kids wanting the signature and everything, like, huh,
Yeah.
what if I pretend to be a pilot?
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is it's that specific era when commercial flight was a thing, but it was more than let's just call it what it is, a taxi driver in the sky.
Yes,
right?
and also, I'm sorry, everybody. If you go to an airport, please put on some fucking like regular pants and shoes. Don't be a goddamn degenerate.
Has nothing to do with your IRL job, is it? No,
Maybe
nothing to do with it. If you guess airlines,
pants and fucking sandals, fuck you. We are defying gravity to move you to one place on the world to another. At least show some respect.
I will continue. Otherwise, I would be laughing until the end of the show. But yeah, so what Frank does, he's like, okay, I can pretend I'm being a pilot, and when I do that, I can get some stuff that he wants. And as he gains that knowledge of, oh, wait a minute, I need an actual uniform, and he goes out and he finds this warehouse where they can dress you.
He goes undercover as a fake student, interviewing the guy from Pan Am, getting his fake credential card where it's like, by the way, big no. That would never, no.
Yeah.
No, that would never happen. I don't care if it's expired.
Yeah, I know, he would never. But look, it's like late 60s. These type of things were not prevalent, right?
Yeah.
So you could kind of say, well, back then you could have gotten away with a few things, but because people got away with it, that's why it's not happening today, right? It's like that woman I saw yesterday. She got CP coming in and taking her kids because the kid ran away from the supermarket and got out. Not to the street. He got out of the supermarket and waited outside. And somebody called CP on her.
Are you fucking kidding?
They took her for 24 hours. Took the kid for 24 hours. Insane.
That is absolutely insane.
Never mind. So Frank kind of weasels his way into this. And the funny part is like, okay, I don't have the money to pay because it's like $160 something.
Well, can I write you a check? And like, no. All you have to do is give us your ID number, and then we'll bill it, and then all the company will do is take it out of your next paycheck.
Exactly.
Like, you can even the smile just creep across.
Yeah.
Oh, even better. Oh,
Yes.
even
It's
better.
like, yeah, you say what?
And then,
what you
then after this,
say?
the next when he goes to the hotel, like, well, yeah, we can actually cash out your checks here, but up to if it's a payroll check, we can give you up to $300. Oh, you said up to $300, eh?
Hey, and that whole bit where he goes to the room and he sort
The
of
little airplane.
overtypes-
Oh,
yeah,
God.
no, yeah, overtypes the check because it will have to look like it was printed on an actual printer that prints a lot of these checks.
Yeah.
And then he gets the Pan Am symbol from the fucking
The
build a
plane.
plane.
And
Yeah.
pressing it in the Bible too, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. That sequence is fantastic.
And you mentioned that necklace, and
The bit with
what he does is he
Sorry.
goes to the airport and he wants to, I think, if I remember correctly, he wants to buy the ticket, but they're like, oh, it's okay. We've got a seat like open for you.
Oh,
if
no. He doesn't want to buy a ticket. Like, are you my deadhead? Deadhead being the spare
the spare
quote,
room
pilot seat.
guy that just needs to move to a different airport in order
Yeah.
to catch his flight at a different
for
city.
another-
And when he goes up, and there's that sequence where it goes into that monologue where he writes to his dad that he's already completed his course and he's doing his first flights, and you're like, you are a lying sack of shit.
Sack of shit. Yeah. Well,
But
I
he goes-
graduated from Pan Am, the most trusted name in the sky.
Yeah. And to me, what gave me the most sort of chuckle is the fact that I've seen The Aviator and that whole Pan Am rivalry with TWA. It was like, oh, this is hilarious.
It's really funny. Yeah.
It's really hilarious how that sort of worked itself out in movie history. So he seduces Alan Pompeo. This is pre-Grey's Anatomy, Alan Pompeo.
This is I think this is post. Yeah,
Post?
this is
Really?
post. No, not Grey's Anatomy. This is post the first film that she was in, the major film. It was I just forgot the name of it. Will Ferrell comedy, 2001. Fraternity.
Elf?
No, Fraternity.
Old School?
Yeah, it's Old
was
School, yeah.
2006. Old School was 2006.
Old School was not 2006. Old School was 2001.
Price check on aisle 7,
it was,
guys.
It was 2002. It was early 2000. No, sorry. No, I'm sorry. It was early 2003. So, yeah, you're right. This is right afterward.
This is
I'm getting my dates conflated.
It's so easy. Stop fumbling. It's pre-Grey's Anatomy, Alan Pompeo.
Yes.
Okay? Great. Awesome. She nearly got her tits out, but not really.
Actually, in another director's cut, she was fully nude.
It's okay. I'm good. Not really fancy that anyway, but it's like Sandra Hammer's
Who
like,
cares?
who gives
Exactly.
a fuck? Exactly.
Yeah, you're fair. You're right.
Speaking about who gives a fuck about a specific chick, next chick to fall for our Mr. Frank here is this chick. Now I forgot her name.
It's Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, and this was after she got turned down for playing playing the lead in Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was
really?
she was up for playing Mary Jane. Yeah, but they said that she looked too old. That's true.
Wow. That's a burn and a half. Holy hell. Yeah, so here is great. You know why I love this entire scene? Because
she's poking her nipple?
No. No. It's that the entire scene, not this particular moment, I'll put it off screen so you all you
setup,
horny boys out there in the chat will
again,
go
Meph,
crazy.
I know exactly where you're gonna go. It's a setup and payoff, because this is like the setup of how he expands his knowledge and how his expertise grows from these interactions from people just giving him all the information. But like, she gives him all the information about the Micker machine, about how he ends up buying the Micker machine to make his checks seem more actual, legitimate.
Yeah,
So again, furthering his expertise in his field of check fraud.
It's that whole point of how the con artist kind of develops his techniques.
Yes.
And it starts with the simplest technique of choosing the right
mark,
the right cashier.
It's the right
in
mark,
order to make the con work. Otherwise, he might have like not gained that knowledge, and he needed that knowledge in order to be a even better, well, not a better con artist, but a better fraudulent, or a fraudster, I guess.
Yep.
And to be fair, and then of course we have a few moments with Carl Henrietti, but at this moment,
I think the only really good one is
40
that
minutes
bit,
in.
Is that bit with them where they're in the car and the joke bit. Because it was only good just to hear Tom Hanks say, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah, go fuck yourself. I think he's not even in this until after. Yeah. So Frank gets the knowledge, and then we have this sort of, to me, this was mostly exposition dump in order for us to get why Frank actually works the way he does.
Well, that and how he understands exactly how it's processing it, and the reason why Frank is actually getting away with passing these bogus checks.
Yeah, so go
ahead.
He's using his sort of pilot status to move from one side of the country to the other, write some checks, and then do the same and fly back and just ping pong his checks. And by the time they realize it's been 2 weeks and the guy's like not there anymore. Yeah. That's the whole point of just explaining it. So Henrietti explains it to basically the other FBI agents that didn't know, and them to kind of realize how it works. We as an audience understand how this sort of check thing actually does work. So we don't need to discuss it for the rest of the movie. So every time you see a check, you know, okay, this is a bad check.
Yep.
And I think at one point Carl says to Frank's mother, it's like, okay, I'll reimburse you. How much does he owe? It's like several million.
No, so currently he owes currently it's at $1.4 million.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
That and that Sarah Lee bit also still makes me laugh, because the one guy still is like trying to get the fort.
All right.
Who doesn't like Sarah Lee? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Okay. We'll jump forward to basically the first meeting. You have that sort of a car ride with sort of that first initial crew that Carl gets, because the FBI kind of realized, well, we've got some like major fraudster here, and we need to sort of have a team, not just Carl doing this entire work, because there's a lot of stuff going on, because they're talking about like hundreds of checks, literally hundreds of checks from just the one guy. And then Carl he goes to the owner of this motel, and he realizes, oh shit, the guy's here. I'm going up to the room. And he goes up to the room, and you're like, what? Barry Allen Secret Service. And I was like, oh,
see,
nah.
So see, even back then I laughed out loud, because I'm like, that's a Flash.
Yeah, that's the Flash. When I saw this for the very first time, I think I started to watch this right after the scene. So when I saw the scene for the very first time, it's like, Carl, it's Barry Allen. It is Barry Allen. Like, there's no way he's like correct. And that's the whole point. The whole point of Frank being a great con artist is that he completely believes in what he's doing. And even though he seems out of place, and it's DiCaprio because he seems young, because at that point in time, he was very young. I think he was supposed to be 18 at this point, where there's already 2 years of
No, I think he's supposed to be 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
So he seems too young and he seems out of place, and there's no way he's a real, Secret Service guy.
Well,
but he manages to fool Carl.
That overconfidence. Again, Sanders on it. The image that he portrays, and also Sanders, I completely agree with you. There is absolutely no way a French person would prefer Sara Lee over their own pastries. That's the most unbelievable thing about the whole goddamn movie. But no, just the confidence that he projects, where it's just like even how he gave him the wallet full of all of the ripped off covers and labels. Where
he says, "Yeah, keep it. I trust you.
I trust you."
And when he sits down, he's like, "Okay, let's see his credentials," and he sees what's going on. And he even takes a look at the trays of food, and he realizes all the labels have been ripped off. And it's an embarrassment to Carl. It's a real embarrassment to Carl.
Well, I do love the setup and payoff of this is shown later, where even at the dinner party, he has the ripped off label of the bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And good little touches.
That moment of sort of development that after he sort of evaded capture, Frank is totally compelled to living this life. He even looks.
Well, as a quick aside, I do love just one other side joke that was in there. Where it's like, well, you guys behave, and I'll get you a good humor bar. And later, when they're actually at the director's office, they're actually the two other FBI agents are eating a good humor bar. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, he kept his word.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, director, do you want me to tell you a joke? Knock, knock. This I thought you would love so much was the cut to him like, oh, I'm the James Bond of the sky? What?
Yes.
What?
And this is and the fact that he fully embraces it, because he not only dresses as Sean Connery specifically from With Russia from Love, he also was driving the DB5, which wasn't from Russia from Love. It was from Goldfinger.
I know, but did you hear a pseudonym that he used?
Oh, see.
He said, yes, we'll get that ready for you, Mr. Fleming.
Mr. Fleming. Yeah, Mr. Fleming.
That's perfect.
It's perfect. It is. And then he has that conversation with Alias, and to me, now that I know
the look of love playing.
No, the fact that he sort of brought her from Alias to be this more like an A-list actress. This pose is literally one of the poses that she did in Alias, because that whole deception CIA type deal. But you think it's going one direction, and it totally goes on a different direction, where he's not only having sex with her, he's also paying her with a check, which supposedly was higher than the amount that they sort of agreed on.
Was for $1,400, but they basically had their little joke game around it being only $1,000. Well, and then so he gives her the fake cashier's check, and she gives him $400 back. Where it's like, I think you've been running this for a while, baby girl.
Exactly. And that whole thing of he had sex, he didn't. He got paid for the sex and had a good time. I imagine from a high class hooker, not a streetwalker from Bethlehem or whatever. Sorry, I don't know what I said. Bethlehem. Never mind.
You say Vegas, at least.
Streetwalker from Skid Row. Okay,
fair enough.
Not that. It's the other thing. But then we have one of the sort of reoccurring themes is both Carl and Frank are sort of in that opposite ends of the map, but they're both kind of lonely at the end of the day.
Yeah, because there's a juxtaposition where, again, even though he has that experience with Jennifer Garner's character, can't remember her name. Well,
Doesn't matter.
Model, but in between that, we have Carl doing his laundry at a laundromat, sitting there by himself, and we have the calls on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to touch upon. This is sort of that first call that's between those two, where Carl realizes, yeah, this guy is lonely. It's Christmas. Even though when it starts off with Frank kind of berating Carl for doing everybody's job. Don't you have a family, Carl? It's like, yeah, I do have a family. I have a daughter, but I volunteered because I wanted other people to enjoy their holiday.
Well, he says no this time. That's why he gives him shit later when he sees his wedding ring. It's like, well, you lied to me about that. You said you weren't married. Like, well, I was.
Yeah. But when kind of Carl finds out, he's sort of like, I have the upper hand here. When it comes
I know
to
why you're calling me, because you have no one else to call.
Yeah, and when Frank hangs up the phone, Carl is bursting out laughing.
I got you.
It's like, I got him. I fucking got him. And then we have that realization of it's like a random guy. It's like Barry Allen on that spreadsheet of and the guy's like, oh, you like the Flash. What do you mean? It's like Barry Allen's the Flash. What leads that revelation of, yeah, and Carl kind of gets it. It's like he's a kid. To be honest, now that I think about it, there's a lot of scenes where Tom Hanks is on the phone in this movie. Like there's a lot of them. See, it's like in the office, out in the field. He's a lot on the phone.
Well, to be fair, in so many ways, that's how they had to get things done. Because
they couldn't like drive everywhere. They had to phone in. But the whole comic book thing kind of leads him into.
There it is. There's my favorite scenes. Favorite comics. The guy on the left is just like, I just want a fork. I just want my cheesecake, man.
Yeah. And at some point, it's like Carl is like,
gives him the fork.
But yeah, the whole conversation, which leads into, he's in trouble. He owes millions.
Okay, Sanders, that's a good bit. That's a good bit there.
What?
He literally phoned in his performance. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Thank you. Thank you, Sander. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I wouldn't say, like, even though how much Carl bitched about his team, the guy in the middle taking all the notes, he saves the entire case.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought.
Note of where Paula, Frank's mom, was from in France.
The next scene, though, is a fun little scene because it kind of reminds me of Trading Places. And I'll tell you why. So Frank has this house party. He's in Atlanta, Georgia, of all places. Everybody's dressed to the nines. Everybody's like hip. They're cool. They're fun, blah, blah, blah. But he's moping around the house, bringing in booze and food.
It's Italian knit.
Yeah, it's Italian knit. It's like, oh shit. He's exactly like Eddie Murphy hosting these bunch of yahoos in his house.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I like when I saw this for the very first time, immediately I went to that and I was like,
dude, don't touch the hi-fi. Okay.
Everybody get the fuck out. But yeah, he's sort of like living the life, having this sort of a thing. And then he, no, I forgot. I watched it like 4 days ago. Is it a friend that got injured?
Yes, he got injured. One of the people at the party got injured that fractured his ankle. That's why he goes to the hospital. And
See, and he has to go to the hospital, and this is sort of that start of the arc of, okay, he's not a pilot anymore. Now he's a doctor. Why is he a doctor? To be closer to this girl, basically, Amy Adams, that kind of looked not bad in those clothes. Let's just say that.
Well, also too, as we mentioned before, like she actually portrays the role correctly of her being like so young at that time, and also, well, she was, but she looks like so young and innocent, especially with the braces and everything. Where it's like, yeah, you could.
You want me to turn it off? That's fine.
No, you can see it. I mean,
and the weird part is, and this is the weird part, is when you realize what's going on. They start to have this relationship. All that Frank knows from like being a doctor is watching this doctor.
I love
show,
this comes up multiple times where he actually studies his information from films, because he does it not only in his doctor role but in his lawyer role.
He watches Perry Mason.
Yeah,
right. The old Perry Mason in order to perform as a lawyer, but he watches this. I don't know which TV show that was, but it was very rudimentary, kind of a. I would say General Hospital kind of a approach to, not ER approach.
That we'll get to that. But Sandra, to your question, that's a very, very good question. That's what had already been passed at that point in time. But also the fact that she actually explained the fact that it was one of her father's friends that provided the service.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. At this point in time, I think Frank is 18 or 17 on the cusp.
Should be 18,
right?
Yeah.
On the cusp. He's supposed to be 23, 24.
No, he's supposed to be 28.
She?
He is.
No, Amy Brenda Strong. No. I mean, Frank for real is about 18.
18, yeah.
And Brenda for real is about 23, 24-ish.
Yes, but but Brenda believes that he's supposed to be 28.
Yeah. He tells her he's 26, I think.
No, 28, because
28.
It's brought up during the last scene at their engagement party, the last conversation. Like, no, you're Frank Connors, you're 28.
Oh, okay. And that's the whole point, is at this point, she's for real older than he is, but she, because of the whole abortion thing, is damaged goods.
Yeah.
In the 60s, in the late 60s. And
Definitely.
That's the whole point. That's why, because he's sort of giving her some love without judging her. And this is the first time. And it comes up with the conversation with her dad, is like, I thank you for taking her off my hands, sort of a conversation. Because, she's been, it's implied.
Yeah.
It's implied. Let's just say I had to backtrack and rewatch that whole conversation about when he comes to sort of propose the marriage. Right.
I will have to say Martin Sheen shows a very softer side, which I really genuinely liked, which we'll get to that in a minute. But this scene I actually did love, because he's trying to utilize what he learned from watching the film, while not trying to vomit, because he does not like the sight of blood, which apparently he was not aware of, the fact that he couldn't actually stand the sight of blood. So he's like, well, do you concur? Well, it was a bike accident, obviously. And as he walks in with like, I blew it, didn't I? Why didn't I concur?
And the next bit, after we kind of have Carl kind of, there's a moment where Carl is just one step behind Frank.
Yes.
So Carl kind of discovers this Atlanta place.
Well, he discovers it because he goes to visit Frank Sr.
Yeah.
And Frank Sr. flat out tells him, well, you're not a father, are you? If you were, you would realize I would never give up my son. And he sees the letter that Frank Jr. sent him from the Atlanta address.
And he sees the address on the envelope, and it's like, okay, that's fine. And he leaves. And he mentions to Frank Sr. that he has a daughter, but it doesn't say anything beyond that. And then he leaves. And then, of course, we have that conversation where she kind of confesses about the abortion, about the fact that she thinks she's damaged goods because apparently that's how I basically got it from her mother and father.
Well, this is Georgia in the this is the South
60s.
in the 60s. Yeah, it was a very bad time.
Yeah, pretty big deal. And Frank is like, "Don't worry, I'm also a lawyer," which starts off the whole lawyer arc.
Well, like, what would your parents say if a doctor wanted to marry you? And that leads into the engagement. And it was actually only at the dinner previous to the question, the conversation between Roger and Frank here, where he mentions the fact, like, oh yeah, well, I was thinking about getting back into law school,
into law. Yeah,
well, and he could have said lawyer. He could have said any other law school, by the way, but no, he had to say UC Berkeley. Say Berkeley.
Yeah, which to me was weird because the fact that a Southerner was at school at a very, even back then, very, very, very liberal, progressive school.
Well, then also he got his well, he went to Harvard and graduated from Harvard Medical School too. Yeah, where it's like you're going all over the country, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit all over the place, right? It's all over going to Harvard, doing medical school, but UC Berkeley for law.
Why wouldn't you have just said Yale or
or Harvard? Yeah. You're already a Harvard man. You want to do that kind of a thing? Who would do law and medical school? Just crazy persons, right?
Yeah.
But that whole shtick about the religion wasn't his religion. He wasn't religious at all. And they said, let's just say grace. And all he did was cite
the mice
story, which was fucking dumb to begin with, but it sounded good and it made it work. Frank made it work because he's a great con artist.
Again,
and he sort of in the movie proved that he is.
Yeah. You believe your story. That's what you do.
And then, of course, have that sort of, like I said, that engagement.
Yeah, we have Roger grilling him, where the fact that you think that it's going to turn, where like Roger is the one who sees through the facade, but then it turns where it's like, oh no, at the end, Roger's just a big old sweetheart, and just like, oh, you're a romantic just like I am.
Yeah, it's sort of like, oh, he's going to catch him in a lie here, but then either and this is from many viewings, this is still a mystery to me. Did her father know that Frank is full of shit and he was testing him? Or did he know he was full of shit and he just wanted somebody to take his daughter off his hands? Again, going back to the damaged goods.
I'm thinking more of it was testing because of how eager he was to accept her back with the way that it's shown. And also the fact that he's obviously going to be spending a lot of money on the wedding. Just look at the engagement party. So, yeah.
And that whole bit of Frank Frank going to the thing and started to let's call it a hibbity jibbity kind of a thing where he's trying to play the judge, and the judge is like, this is a preliminary hearing.
I'm saying this is a preliminary hearing. There's no defendant.
There's no defense. There's no jury.
There's just me. What in the hell is wrong with you?
What are you doing? It's a good thing he didn't say concur. And you mentioned this before. This is the homage to the Shay Irish thing where they're sitting around and watching.
Yep.
Um,
And it also
please,
calls back to not only this, but also Frank's idealized version of his childhood with it, like his mother and father, how they used to be, like how he sees the Strongs when they're
yeah,
together, like
later,
especially when they're washing dishes and everything. It's
yeah,
like
when
he sees that love, and I think that's when there was that change in his mind where this is where I need to stop now.
yeah, it seems like at this moment he's sort of content with, yeah, I think I'm gonna stay with Brenda because I think he treated Brenda differently from any other girl because it
Yeah,
started off sort of being manipulative, but then it kind of evolved into another thing, and this is why he kind of abandoned that sort of a doctor arc and took on that lawyer arc upon himself because he knew he could bullshit. And the whole thing of going to the Louisiana bar and passing the bar,
which was
which
obviously fake. Yeah, we know.
was obviously fake. But in terms of the movie itself, in the movie context itself, he actually passed the bar.
Yes, yeah,
Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to even go in front of a judge.
correct.
And that's kind of brought up in the plane before the wedding in that plane ride. Where is it? See, VLC is being a bitch.
I was gonna say there's also one bit that we did kind of gloss over with how kind of important that scene is with the Strongs in the kitchen. Was when while you're finding it, when
no.
Frank went to
I
go
had it on
visit his
before.
father to give him the Cadillac. That his father reminiscing about his Paula and their marriage and about him nearly breaking down during the lunch scene. That we kind of
This is not where he offered the coupe. The coupe was way before at the start of the movie.
That's what I'm talking about. But leading that into it, but that was kind of that scene with the Strongs emphasizes that familiar bond and how important it is to Frank. And how he could actually see staying with Brenda and staying with the Strongs because they are a good foundation. They're a good base. They're a new, like, almost surrogate family that he lost.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of contributes to that is that Christmas conversation that they were waiting for it. They were tapping it. They were sort of like, we're trying to get sort of, they knew he was probably in Georgia, but they didn't know. No, and he's already in Louisiana.
Well, that and also, but just you did gloss over the other conversation that he did with his father when he came back up there to give him the wedding invitation, or sorry, the engagement party invitation. That also like is just another stepping stone to that conversation, that sad conversation that he has with Carl. Whereas, like, I'm finally at peace. Can you just stop hunting me? Leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone. And sort of Carl saying, I will never leave you alone.
Like,
never.
We can't get, like, you stole $4 million in 1969, 70. Like, we can't just leave you alone. It's not a wedding gift.
Yeah. So they have the wedding, and of course, Henriette and the crew gets to them.
It's not. No, they didn't actually get married. It's an engagement party.
It's an engagement party. Yeah, I know.
And that's where he got the whole information bit, where Carl was able to get that one bit that he let slip of the fact, like, I'm settling down, I'm getting married, like Connors. He has to have the last name Connors.
He has the Connors.
Well, why wouldn't he change his name? Well, because if he changes his name, he's going to lose the girl.
Exactly. And Brenda is shocked, to say the least, that he has not one, but 2 suitcases filled to the brim with cash. So much so that it slips, like a lot of it kind of flies off. And
it opens up
Frank
almost as if there was like an airbag underneath waiting to pop it up.
But he tells her, look, I have to go. Just wait for me at the airport, blah, 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 and I'll pick you up.
Well, and the great thing, too, is her first bit of questioning is not like, why'd you lie to me? No, you're not a Lutheran?
Yeah. And that's what bothered her. Wait a minute, you lied to me. You're not a
Not a
it's like
Lutheran?
it's like me trying to marry somebody and she's like, wait a minute, you're not Christian?
I think that's the least of our concerns.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned the fact that Carl kind of realizes he's got his man because of the telltale sign on the champagne bottle, which is a very beautiful touch that connects everything without, again, showing you and not telling you.
Yep.
And the realization on his face, I was like, oh, I know I got him now. And he runs up the stairs and goes into Brenda's room as Frank sort of has gotten away already.
And there's a set of then I love the next scene where they're walking down one of the terminals, Frank and his two cronies. Like, no, we have to be set up here. You know why? Because I'm here.
Yes, exactly.
This is where he's going to leave from, and we have that. Then also, said, well, come on, why wouldn't he just disappear? You know, well, he doesn't have a passport. Like, he went in the last 6 months. He went to Harvard and Berkeley. I'm betting he can get a passport.
Yeah, and I don't know if they kind of realized the scam about the pilot. I don't think they realized the scam with the pilot thing. But what I didn't get, this is what bothered me every time I watched the movie. So he goes in, he figures out the FBI has got the girl. I have to abandon ship, but I have to fly out. First of all, why fly? You have a car. Why fly out? Why don't you just drive?
That's what I never got to, where it's like, why wouldn't you just drive to another location where you already have a fake passport anyway? So why don't you just drive somewhere else, fly out somewhere else? No, because but they had to put some cheeky little bit where he did the whole Pan Am stewardess bit.
This is the second part. How long would it take to get all these girls, do the seminar, and pick them? Let's just say it's a day. There's at least a day between the seminar itself and the picking. It's like there's too much going on.
With that many girls, we're talking at least a week.
Let's just say a week, plus getting them all the actual uniform, which was form fitted, by the way.
Yeah,
this is early 70s, 69
if he didn't already have the one that he previously had, but it didn't seem like he had it.
No, not his clothes. They're form-fitting like stewardess clothes. That's not 3 of them. There's like 7.
There's 7. And they would also have to go through the Pan Am thing as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's just too much time.
Yeah.
Right. It's just too much time. And all they did was basically a duck and cover operation. And the only thing that was sort of exact is the con artist technique of diversion.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what this kind of a trick you would think you would see at a sort of an Ocean's 11 kind of a movie, rather than this kind of a movie.
Definitely. I can say if they make an Ocean's 14, this would be something that like Brad Pitt or Clooney would pull off. Definitely.
Exactly. Sort of like, look here because I'm doing something over here kind of a thing, where I would, like I said, I would expect that from a Ocean's 11 or 12, 13, 14, 15,
I think
whatever.
They almost wanted that. Spielberg almost wanted that just for the trailer shot alone, because the opening of all the girls getting out of the car with him in the middle was primarily the biggest opening shot of the trailer when the film came out.
Yeah. I think it opened up the trailer, and the fact that he has a guy as a diversion that he paid like $100 or something.
The cheeky little like fuck you moment, like, I'm supposed to pick up a guy. What's his name? Handready.
Yeah. And even he wrote it incorrectly. He added a D in there because he he couldn't figure out how to exactly like write it down because he only heard it, not saw it written down.
He only actually saw it written down once when he saw his ID, his FBI ID in the hotel room the very first time. That was the only time he ever saw. Oh, sorry, just being persnickety, but he did see it once. But yeah, phonetically, he's just like, hand ratty.
which brings me to the accent. Now, I've seen the debate. Where's Carl Henriette is supposed to be from? So typically, he is supposed to have either a Boston accent or a New England accent.
It's New England. It's upper,
but it's sort of a mix. It's sort of a mix, according to what I saw. It's sort of and sometimes it's really Boston, not South Boston, but Boston.
No,
and sometimes it's the broader New England accent.
It's definitely not Southie. It's not Southie in any way.
Not Southie, no.
It's North Boston, but definitely like northern area of New England. Most of the time.
Yeah, not technically from Boston, but yeah, it's supposed to be an indicative to the Irish of the area, but it's not. Again, because they're not telling you everything.
Yeah,
it's a sort of a conjecture that you do in your head, and you just connect the dots without actually having dots to connect to, because you don't know Carl Henriette is not the real guy. It's a different guy who is supposedly he's Irish.
Yep.
But yeah. All right, let's do a quick stop, right? Let's do our second game of the night. Let's just set it up beforehand. Of course, I closed the window. Yay!
As you do that, just to the last point where he does get away, and the director actually chastises Carl. No, go ahead while you set it up.
No, it's okay. Hey,
I was gonna say,
go ahead.
No, the director chastises Carl, saying he got away. No, Carl, you let him get away.
You let him get away. It's like, oh, sticking the knife a little bit deeper.
Digging.
Yeah.
And then we get to all the printed stuff after our next game.
All right, next game of the night. It is fun. It is happy. It's just Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter for the uninitiated is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good or both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? I found a Tom Hanks one. A League of Their Own or Mission to Mars. And there is a connection because Mission to Mars... Oh, no, wait. I was going to say Mission to Mars has Gary Sinise, but he's not Mission to Mars. I think it's right?
Yeah, I do believe so. I was going to say, obviously, this is an easy one for me because there's no crying in baseball.
I'll check. Mission to Mars. Oh, I was right. It is the Gary Sinise one.
Oh, okay.
Red Planet is Val Kilmer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're both bad. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks, it's sort of that connection. There's no crying in baseball. Maybe next year. Maybe
we could actually do a full baseball month. That would not be hard to do.
I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Frequency or Lost in Space.
Oh my God, the Matt LeBlanc Lost in Space?
Correct. The William Hurt Mimi Rogers Lost in Space. The Gary Oldman turns into a cockroach.
God.
Well, technically a spider.
Yeah. I would say Frequency is still a bad movie, but I definitely Frequency. Lost in Space is a bad film, but it's not so bad. It's enjoyable.
I don't like Frequency that much.
I'll
pick Frequency just because it has Dennis Quaid in it and not Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah.
I guess. You guys in the chat can vote for whatever movie you want. It doesn't.
Well, we already know that this is super
it-
fucking easy. Come on.
It does matter. Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. I think that's 4. I have no idea.
Or is it?
I've seen it.
No, I think that's is that the 5th one?
No, Fallout is number 6. So Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3. Then
I thought there was another one in between there. Then it was Rogue
there's
Nation,
not Rogue Nation. There's another one. Doesn't really matter. It's one of them.
Well, but it doesn't matter because Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors is the best Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's the best one.
So, yeah.
You're on TV, bitch.
Fighting on it. No, it's prime time, bitch.
Yeah, you're on prime time, bitch. Eastern Promises, which we have covered on the show, or Invention of Lying, which is an underrated, not bad movie.
It's actually a pretty decent comedy.
It is a decent comedy.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais comedy, by the way.
Yeah. Before he kind of went off the rails and then kind of came back and then, I would still go Eastern Promises just because Viggo Mortensen is such a fucking boss in that movie. I love it so much.
It's really hard to pick because I do love the Invention of Lying. I do like the premise of it more than the actual sort of turn of events that happens in the movie. Eastern Promises is really dark, but I would watch it. Not because we covered it. Shallow Hal or Four Lions.
Have you seen Four Lions?
I don't think so.
I don't think you have.
When I look at the poster, I don't think so. There we go. Napoleon Dynamite or Shallow Hal. 2 distinctly different comedies, I would say, even though Napoleon Dynamite is not really a comedy.
No, so if you were to pan in on that poster of Shallow Hal, why did they try to make Jack Black look jacked? That is not an accurate representation.
No idea. Which one's your pick?
I have to go with Napoleon Dynamite.
I hate to agree with you about everything, but yeah. But to me, it's much closer than you would think. I have not seen The Chateau.
Oh,
Nor
don't worry about it. Oh, well, yeah, I mean.
All right. Blow or Suicide Squad?
This is the awful one.
This is the first Suicide Squad.
It's the non-James Gunn one.
This is the David. No. Yeah, this is the David Ayer Suicide Squad.
One, yeah. It's Blow. I love that movie.
I know you do.
I really do.
I hated Suicide Squad so much. It is so dumb.
It's bad.
My issue with it is the trailer was really good, and whoever picked the music for it did a fantastic job of getting people to go and watch it.
And
no
also,
joke.
They did a terrible job cutting it because if you like some of the
I know there's the Ayers cut. Apparently it's not as great as you think, and it's not
as great, but it saves it from being a terrible film into being like, okay, serviceable comic book movie. It's perfectly fine. It sets up a sequel automatically. It's fine. Instead, it's just this terrible mess. But Blow, on the other hand, is just a great story.
The air fryer,
yeah.
It's Blow for me. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. Spy Game or Starship Troopers? And need I say more?
Do you want to fucking live forever?
I don't, but okay. Django Unchained or Get Smart?
I think we're gonna have a lot of people get mad at us in a second.
Why?
Even though I'm gonna go with Django, remember our review of that movie. Oh my god, it's not as good as I remember. It is not. All
right.
It plods in its paces for way too fucking long.
Would you, if I would have said to you that Mrs. Meth said fond things about it today while we were watching the History Channel, as the History Channel was doing a Bruce Lee and Quentin Tarantino side by side, some like influence on the American history film industry.
What,
And I was like,
were they talking about?
really?
Were they talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, they were not. They were like, this influenced this amount on the film industry and this influenced on this amount, but also one influenced on the other. Don't get me. It's a history channel. But she said fun things about Django. And I was like,
What?
Are you for real? Okay.
I'm at the call her later, but girl, what are you talking about?
Last one. So I Married an Ex-Murderer or Night of the Living Dead. Chad says Night of the Living Dead.
This is going to surprise you.
Okay.
So I Married an Ex-Murderer. I low-key actually adore that movie. And don't get me wrong, Night of the Living Dead's set up like it was Romero's first film, set up a great premise of the undead. Don't get me wrong, but oh my god, on multiple viewings, that movie is a slog sometimes.
This will not shock anybody who knows me. You for one. I'm not a zombie movie guy. Of the horror genre, it is one of my least favorite. Is not up there as gore porn. It's just down below that one or above that one or whatever. I just don't like zombie movies at all. It's just not for me. So I Married an Ex-Murderer. Let's be fair here. It is not the best movie.
Oh no.
But would I watch it from these two? Hells to the yeah.
Yep, and Sandra, you're absolutely right, because that's why when the first horror film I got Meph to watch was Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, for the show.
Yeah.
The show. It was a pretty good episode as well. I like the
and I introduce you to the man, the myth, the legend, fucking
Paul,
Tom Savini.
Tom Savini. I was gonna say Paul Savini, but I always get that wrong. I don't know why I call him Paul Savini. It's Tom Savini. Yeah. Admire the man. I do. Cool. All right. We have tons of movie to go and about 20 minutes to do it in. So we're gonna jump in.
Rapid fire.
Not too much, but just a little bit further on, as sort of like after Carl gets chastised, he sits down with the evidence and he figures out something.
Well,
there's
there's the note of all the checks and that circle going back and forth. They're trying to figure out, well, these checks are all coming from different countries in
Europe, basically.
Yeah, but it was like there he's circling back. I'm like, wait, what was that one town that was in France? Because these are actually printed checks. Like it's a massive printed press. Like he goes to like basically. Like it seems so odd because I just like I know it's a stereotype, but like, come on, are these guys not just like Jewish stereotypes? They're like, come on, it's an old printing press.
It's to be perfectly fair, these are more like old German guys rather than Jewish guys.
Yeah.
But I know what you were going for.
Yeah. Like they would know.
I totally get why you went there. It's not a stretch. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that. A lot of the printing presses people in Germany at a certain point in time were probably all
they're
Jewish.
all Jewish, yeah.
And they were all executed.
No.
I mean they were executed before the war.
Yeah.
Or let's just say removed from their position because it didn't fit with the propaganda.
Correct.
Because they couldn't print the propaganda because they were Jewish. Anyway, yeah. So Carl goes to the guys who know how to do the printing press. They kind of say that it's a certain type of machine. It's only located in certain countries. And immediately when France is
one of the guys say France, then
it kind of
where was that town? And it like honestly, again, that one guy comes in, as we mentioned before, to save the day, a good setup and payoff. What was that? Is that Mount Rainier? What's the name of the city? But village. But yeah,
Village.
And you
and
know,
yeah,
the first time when I heard all of the Christmas music in a small, quaint French village, you know what I was thinking of first, right?
No.
I was thinking of In Bruges.
Oh, I did not think of
I
In
was
Bruges
just like,
at all.
"Aw,
At
aw."
all. Yeah. Frank's that's the whole deal with Frank. He knows he got caught, but he's already thinking about how to con Carl and getting the fuck away from there. He was like, Merry Christmas.
Why do we always meet each other on Christmas? By the way, these are the best French beans. You want to buy?
Yeah. And it's just the visual of the checks going all over the place. That's what I like about their whole conversation. To me, it's sort of a mind play of who's gonna give in first. Is it Frank because he doesn't believe Carl about the cops that are waiting outside, where technically there weren't any cops waiting outside?
No, but
there were.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Carl in the end. Like, he wasn't a liar, but it seems as though he was conning the con man.
Yeah, it felt like that. It did felt like yeah, he's gonna con the con man, but not really. And when they stepped outside, it's like, oh, I knew there weren't any cops, and then all the cops come
swarm
and arrest him. And then of course, during the movie, it kind of starts off with him going to the French prison and Frank almost getting away or escaping. And as the film goes, every single time it jumps to that point in time where Frank already got caught and he's getting extradited back to the United States with Carl and the two other agents.
Which,
and
to be fair, I think that was a very shitty thing that Carl did, that not telling him that his father was dead until he was on the plane. That's a bit shitty.
It's not really when it's on the plane. It's literally when they're descending towards
New York. They're getting into LaGuardia.
Yeah, and it's a bit shitty. And Frank goes a little bit bananas, and he runs through the toilet.
And side note, this would kill you. You would die.
Yes. But in context of a movie, I would give it a leeway, you know.
Yeah, it gives it a good solid like, oh wow, he is such an escape artist. He's that good. Like,
yeah.
And he goes to
story-wise, it does build up towards, he is not only a con artist, he's very resourceful in a way where he can find the little niche and he can wiggle through and kind of escape. And what does a young boy, well, he's about 22 here, 23. What does a young boy do when he loses his father? He runs to his mother.
From his mom. And then he sees that his mom has a new baby girl and new family, and
he literally faces off with his sister, or his half sister, I guess. And he kind of realizes, I'm not gonna disturb this family.
Well, I think this was the mental break for him, where it's like, no, my idealized family doesn't exist at all. My father's dead. My mother's clearly moved on. She has a new family. I have nothing. That's why he just gives up.
Yeah, this is the moment where he kind of like, I don't need this smoke anymore. And of course, he gets not only incarcerated, he is in solitary confinement.
They put him in solitary for 12 years. That is considered now an actual like crime against humanity.
It's a form of torture. Yeah. It's mental. And it's not like he has a fucking PC and a laptop and internet connection in that room. by himself. All he has is like, I can read books and maybe like finish my GED and maybe do a degree. And that's it.
Well, but to be fair, he didn't need to because he already passed the bar by himself when he was minor, according to the narrative in the film.
Yes, according to the narrative in the movie itself. But it does lead him to a conversation with...
Because Frank came to visit him on Christmas and shows him like, well, I bought comic books. I'm like, we're on this new case. I can't figure it out. And he shows him the check, and he's like, oh, well, if you look at it,
yeah,
if you're going to try to check try to find a fraudster, find someone who already was a fraud to begin with.
And again, this is the sort of like everything kind of connects and clicks for us as the audience. Yeah. As we see Frank is like, oh yeah, this and this is okay. He did this. This is how he did it. It's like, oh shit, he should be a great guy to find all these mistakes because he knows everything, because he's done it so many times. He's an expert just by repetition. He's an expert. And Carl is bringing him to be, working for the FBI.
I think Frank actually impresses Carl's boss.
Yes.
By going through the rigmarole of a new case, going like, well, this is exactly how he did it. Now it depends on and even going through like the stock of the paper and everything on the check. So that's how he moves on to there. We have Frank's kind of almost disillusionment of his life in the office that comes up because Carl's too busy to be his friend to talk to him. So again, he's on his own. So he has that moment where he wants to escape.
Yeah. There's that moment where this is the moment where it's sort of like, what are you doing on the weekend? And Carl's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and meet my family and say hello to my daughter. And it keeps popping up his whole relationship with his daughter. Yep. And this is what leads to Frank sort of like saying, well, fuck it. I'm just going to put on my pilot's uniform and just get the fuck out. And they have that conversation, I'm guessing at an airport.
It's nearly like it's almost on a terminal. They're getting to the point where they're almost on a tarmac, almost above a tarmac because it's only just them.
Yeah,
and it was Frank who calls him out saying, "Well, Frank's only 4." I'm like, "Yeah, she was 4 originally. She's 15 now." It's like, why do you say that? Because sometimes it's easier to live the lie.
Yeah. And this is the sort of that realization where us as viewers are like, yeah, Carl has been having a very lonely life too. Yeah. And this is exactly why they're literally on opposite ends of the spectrum of the sort of cops and robbers.
But they're
where Carl is so dedicated to the work, there is no room for family life. And this is how he kind of lost his family. And Frank lost his family, and it kind of pushed him towards that life of loneliness, where in the only point where he could sort of settle down and have a family with sort of in-laws that kind of love each other and have that sort of family together. And that got ruined by Carl as well. Because the deception was revealed.
Yeah. Well, which I love the way that you said that, because Carl lost his family because he could not escape his work. Frank couldn't have a family because of his work. He's a fraudster. He couldn't have a family because that's all he did. So, yeah.
And there's a point here where Carl says to Frank, "Look, Frank, there's no
one here.
No one here.
No one coming.
No one's after you. You just do you. But if you're not here, if you're not
back
there
on
Monday,
yep,
I'm gonna arrest you, and you're gonna
Like-
be sitting in solitary confinement
You're
for
going
30
back
years.
to prison for a
Yeah.
very, very, very long time, and that's the end of it.
And that's the end of it. And that very cinematic moment where they pull you by the nose, like
with the young kid trying to run through on Carl's Monday morning meeting, and it's not Frank, and you're like, shit.
yeah,
Did
shit,
run
Frank
away?
did it. Oh no,
No.
Frank did it.
No,
And
then as Carl's leaning over a check with his eyepiece, and Frank, well, let me take a look at that.
yeah, exactly. And Carl is like, I knew you wouldn't run. Sort of a face. Yeah, I kind of knew you wouldn't run, but you gave me a a minor heart attack before you showed up. You kind of gave me a heart attack before you showed up. But that little smirk that Carl has after kind of Frank came back and looked at the check and everything.
Well,
It
and
was
this
like-
this is also where he had the bar conversation finally, where he says, "No, I just studied and I
Yeah, I
passed."
just studied. And he really sort of had that face of, nah, I don't think so.
So, and
He-
then they had their tete-a-tete talking about the case and the pan out to the exposition epilogue dump at the end.
And
yeah.
yeah, just to, Frank did this and did that. And like we said, some of it's true, some of it's questionable.
Most of it is very questionable.
Yeah.
But
And
to be
you
fair,
mentioned that.
To fit
Yeah, you mentioned
under-
unreliable narrative, narrator, which is
yeah,
basically
which
the
is-
entire movie.
But again, to fit under the guidelines of a Steven Spielberg film, because I don't think there's a Steven Spielberg film you can walk away from feeling like, oh, I feel sad or I feel upset. No.
AI.
I thought it was bad. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. I guess I was more bored than sad.
That's fair.
All right, cool. Let's do a quick summary and get the flop out of Dodge. To me, even though I went through this whole research, diving into this, kind of realizing, yeah, there's not a lot of truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, it really doesn't matter. And
That's
if
true.
you do know, it still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's a movie. The movie has a story. Does the story make sense? Yes. Does it have a overly dramatic moments? Yes, because hello, it's a movie. But it does fit within the real world. So you believe that Frank can do all those things, even run away from that bathroom on the airplane. Yeah, you said it. It might kill him, or definitely might kill him.
No, it would kill you. Please don't do that. No.
But it's in the realm of believable. What's less believable is the fact that a French person would eat Sarah
Lee.
Sarah
Like,
Lee.
oh, well,
Yeah.
no. In our village, we wouldn't even have Sarah Lee to put out. Like, because why would you?
Yeah, I'm only joking, but yeah, it's that whole the story itself, whether or not it's real life or not real life, it's believable enough, and you are riveted to the story. Now, yes, I'm well aware that the first, let's say, 25 minutes of the whole setup of why Frank is what he is, and that whole family interaction, it's a bit boring, but it's a setup for the entire relationship between him and other girls, and him and Carl, and also Carl's relationship to his family and why he does what he does. So it's a setup for Carl without actually Carl being there.
Correct. Yeah.
Which it's a great thing to pull off. So in the confines of the movie, I thought it was fun. It's a real fun heist story. That whole, it's like Frank is one step ahead of Carl almost for the entire time until it's just too overwhelming and he just does too much to get caught with near misses here and there. That whole room bit with Barry Allen and Sandra Hammerslag just said he's the Flash.
Flash, yeah.
Kind of, but not really. Yeah, excellent movie. Another great collaboration between Spielberg and Tom Hanks, and DiCaprio's there.
Well, I think this is one of DiCaprio's best roles.
I would agree. I would totally agree.
That and obviously he had another one that same year as well in Gangs of New York, but that's something for another day. I wholeheartedly agree with you, buddy. I think this is one of the best kind of con man films that's not solely focused on the heist itself, but about the characters. Another film I like to compare this to is Matchstick Men.
Ooh, another one where we almost covered this year, basically.
Yeah. Which we'll get to it eventually. But it's a great story, a great narrative, and there are some plot holes, obviously, and obviously clear embellishments across the board, but it kind of has to be to kind of fit Spielberg's vision of how he likes to tell a story. Overall, to be honest, I think this is one of Steven Spielberg's best films in the 2000s.
Oh, okay. If you're saying 2000s, I will agree.
Yeah.
Because there aren't a lot of them in the 2000s that past 2000 that I actually do like. I have to go back and see the filmography and actually say, and I don't mean producer roles. I mean actual directing roles.
Yeah.
I have to think about it, but I'm don't think you're that far off, at least even for me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is it for today. If you still haven't watched Catch Me If You Can, go watch it. It's a fun movie.
Good movie.
It is long.
It's long. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes overall.
But
soup to nuts without
like I said,
credits,
except for that 25 minutes at the start, it's pretty much, it's not a slog. It didn't feel like a slog to me.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah. And for next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a classic. So we had to do a little bit of a switch because of guests and Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So next week, it's going to be The Green Mile by Frank Darabont. Another Tom Hanks movie on this glorious Hanksgiving. But
oh boy,
it's not just Tom Hanks. It's also David Morse. It's Sam Rockwell, and it's the late great Michael Clark Duncan. So it's going to be an absolute fun. And you know me, Frank Darabont.
Also Frank Darabont doing another Stephen King adaptation. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So that is it from us. We're going to send you off to Tom and Geary, but I think they're just about done because they started an hour early. So if they're not done, then go ahead and enjoy. I think they're doing planes, trains, and automobiles.
Good holiday film, too.
Good holiday film. I would do it next week for them, but you know how Geary is. Well, I know how Geary is. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, remember, guys, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We'll see you next week. You're still here? It's over.